You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Friday, January 12th. You may have thought it was a Tuesday because I'm sharing the screen with my usual Tuesday co-host of Bully Ball, Jason Aponte. Jay, how's it going, man?
This is great. Like sitting back and watching you lead the show. Like, no, it's perfect. I think it's great. But everything's great. But as usual, 49ers are a nonstop news cycle, even on the week that they're off, and there's no shortage of things to talk about.
Well, that's exactly why I called for this emergency podcast here, because I felt like it was due. And we missed you on Tuesday, man. So hope you're feeling better.
I am. I'm a little bit better. Just a little bit better as well.
That's good. I mean, you're always just a little bit sick, but, you know, for different reasons.
Man, all right. I didn't know I was joining this show to get cooked.
Yeah. See, when I lead the show, things like this happen. So just be aware. But, you know, the reason that we're doing the show is because there's some breaking news on the 49ers side. 49ers assistant general manager Adam Peters has accepted the Washington Commanders general manager position. Yesterday, he was a finalist. Today, he gone. Jay, on a level of 1 to 10, what does this mean for the 49ers? Or how big of a deal is it for the 49ers?
Yeah, I'll be honest, Steph. I think a lot of people have assigned draft picks to Adam Peters and John Lynch, and I think they're leaving out the collaborative effort. I don't know who it is that would say this pick is Peters, this pick is Lynch, right? Like, I think we know certain things, right? Solomon Thomas, John Lynch. Adam Peters kind of banged the table a little bit for Ambry Thomas, right? Like that something that he talked about was character, all those things. I'll be honest, I think this is a boring answer, but I'm not sure what this means. And I think a lot of people are discounting the collaborative effort of Kyle, John, Adam, other people, all those types of people, and the 49ers ability to find guys to be able to help scout. So it on the surface, you would look at this and say, well, how can they continue to lose people? But they lose people all the time. You know, Rand Carthan, the Minnesota general manager, happens all the time. The 49ers always kind of seem to land on their feet. I just don't know what exactly to deduce from this because we don't know exactly what picks are Peter's responsibility or who the people he pushed for.
It is really tough to say. I know when Adam Peters first joined the 49ers back in 2017, that was this regime's first season, right? I think a large reason that he was brought in is because, you know, John Lynch hadn't been a GM before. He just hadn't been an exec before. So I feel like part of the reason that he was brought in was kind of to just teach John Lynch some of the exec ways, the things that Lynch didn't know how to do. And I think all these years, like, John Lynch has picked up some things, and I think he's become a better GM along the way too. But yeah, it is hard to say what one specific guy had in bringing one player along, right? Like, I think it has been a group effort. There's reasons that scouting departments are as large as they are, right? It is entirely a group effort. And the 49ers have allowed, I don't want to say allowed, but there have been other execs to leave the 49ers as well. Rand Carthon and Martin Mayhew last season. And it seems, you know, the ship is still afloat, right? So I don't know if we can really say whether those guys were as important or we just don't know, right? It isn't about just any one guy, but of course, Adam Peters has kind of been that big fish for a while now. Like, he got a lot of attention last year's cycle as well, turned down some interviews. You know, this year he's moving on. But I think the good thing about that, and Gammon asked me to turn this into a positive. I got you, Gammon. Here's where I turn it into a positive. The 49ers have known for some time that Adam Peters was eventually going to be leaving, that they eventually would, or that they wouldn't be promoting him to a general manager position.
Hot commodity.
I think they knew that for some time, right? Like,
Mhm.
so in that, they have done a very good job, and this not just with the execs, but with coaching hires as well. They've done an excellent job of grooming guys for that next step. And so I think they already have someone in mind, in house, who could be the next Adam Peters. And I'm just going to say Tariq Ahmad would be my guess because
Right.
they have been putting that guy more in front of, the, I don't know, media, social media. Like if you see some of the videos they put out post draft and even during the draft cycle, Tariq Ahmad was in those in the past, wasn't so much as involved. So I think he's kind of the next man up when it comes to, taking over Adam Peters' job. And so I think that's why I'm not as worried because they had a backup plan in place.
Yeah, and they always do. D'Amico Ryan's being hired isn't a shock. Mike McDaniel being hired isn't a shock. These aren't like coming out of left field where it's, oh my goodness, like what do we do now? The 49ers have shown themselves to be proactive, not reactive. And there's a lot of, in terms of plans in place, and there's always someone. Robert Saleh leaves, cool. D'Amico Ryan's linebackers coach, come on down. You're the defensive coordinator. And like even when they hire outside of the building, D'Amico Ryan's, you're gonna be the Houston coach. Cool. Steve Wilkes. Well, now Steve Wilkes is in the hiring cycle. Everyone is trying to get a piece of the magic that's going on in the building in terms of roster building, identifying talent, and being able to sustain winning. Regardless of Super Bowls, the 49ers are a successful team and they have been. They win football games, which is all you can ask. So everyone wants a piece of that. Everyone wants to figure out the secret sauce. There's a changing of the guard happening right now in the NFL. Bill Belichick leaving, right? The oldest coach in the NFC West right now, Kyle Shanahan. There is a changing of the guard. Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur, McDaniel, Saleh, Ryans. It's all happening right in front of you. It's a copycat league. Everyone wants to get their hands on whatever's successful, and you're seeing that right now. Again, we talked about Rand Carthan, the Minnesota general manager. Like it's all over the place. And the fact that the 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl in this time lets you know that people are still identifying the 49ers as a successful franchise and as a franchise that understands how to sustain winning. And I think a lot of people understand how hard that is. And the 49ers have done a great job of that. And that's what you're seeing over and over. I see tweets about, can we go through one hiring cycle without? No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And the reason is because the 49ers have built what they built, and people want to be on board with that. People would rather jump on the train rather than be the first ones on the train, if that makes sense. To lead something. Everybody wants to be a part of the journey. Oh no, everyone wants to jump on when there's success, but nobody wants to be a part of the journey. And the 49ers and this Shanahan tree have been a part of that.
Trust me, you guys don't want this to stop because the
No.
moment that this stops and, coordinators and execs stop getting attention is probably because the 49ers have stopped being good at what they're
Yeah,
doing.
100%.
And so it is going to continue, unfortunately, but the 49ers have proven that, they can build from within, and that has been huge for them. Let me get to some of these comments here. Gaming Brown said, rumor has it that Lance was Peter's guy. I don't know. That's a crazy rumor. We've heard a lot of things about like who is responsible for drafting Trey Lance because of just how big that was and how it just didn't turn out well. I
Mhm.
don't think we'll ever know. Maybe there'll be a 30 for 30 in the future and some guy will spill the beans. But as of right now, I don't think we know. And rumor, I'm not taking too much stock in that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I I
but
think that's a popular sentiment. But I don't think, again, rumor and fact, we're not gonna find out until someone writes, you know, Inside Camelot, the book or whatever about, the like everything that happened, diving into the number 3 pick. So yeah, I don't know what to deduce from that. I will say this. Think about a team that could send 3 first round picks for a quarterback that they hope would like change their franchise and have sustained success like the 49ers have. I think, again, going back to what we were
Usually you
just
get
talking
fired
about.
for that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's a fireable offense, right? Like, and
Yeah.
usually you lose a bunch of games, but see, that's the 49ers roster building. That's the magic. That's what everyone would love to whiff on a number 3 pick that badly and keep their jobs, only because they have won so many games. So again, everyone wants to get a little bit of the magic. They just want to figure out what's the secret sauce, and they will take who they will take from there. And there's a lot of great minds, and I think, again, identifying one person as a huge loss discounts the collaborative effort of everyone. And we might find that you're losing this guy, you're losing that guy, you're losing this guy. But who are the two mainstays? John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. Might be time to start to put some respect on their name and stop worrying about who's leaving, because maybe they're the underlying part. Maybe they're the common denominator. I think that's a lot of what we have to do with it. Highlight the whiffs all you want. Highlight the misses all you want. Look at the hits. The hits have not just been guys who play. They've been all pros. They've been Pro Bowlers. They've been mainstay starters. That's what everyone's trying to get their hands on.
Yeah, and their greatest hits looking like Lil Wayne in his prime. So put
Oh,
some
wow.
respect on their names. Oh, oh wow.
Oh, wow.
We're getting a couple questions here. Do we receive any compensation for this? No. I
We're gonna
mean,
find out.
really, the
Are we
only
gonna find out that
time
someone? Are we gonna find out that someone in Adam Peters'
he
background?
has
Are
like
we
a
gonna have to
long
do a?
lost,
Yeah, it's like. Are we gonna have to do
long
a
lost
what is it?
cousin.
A 23andMe like to find out if
So,
someone in his
basically,
background.
yeah. So basically, what Jay's alluding to is the fact that only only execs or coaches who are diversity hires, then the team who loses them gets the comp picks for them. So, to my knowledge, I mean, I don't know, there could be some long lost cousin out there with some bloodlines that maybe we're not privy to, but to my knowledge, Adam Peters would not get the 49ers a comp pick for taking this job. So that is the one, I guess, drawback from all this. But Tariq Ahmad, he, on the other hand, if he becomes that guy, he would certainly be someone who, if he eventually becomes a guy who gets a lot of attention and then then departs in a few years, he would be someone who would earn the 49ers some comp picks. But yeah. Gammon shot for the donation. He says the real reason Adam Peters left, he was tired of Kyle Shanahan forcing him to draft kickers and running backs in the 3rd round. You know what? There could be something to that.
Steph, the young man from Michigan, Donovan something. I'm like
The running
losing his
back.
name. Yes.
Mhm.
Pack your bags, buddy. You are a San Francisco 49er. And I hope you enjoy Texas. I hope you enjoy Texas, and I hope you enjoy good weather and good tacos, because you, my friend, are a San Francisco 49er. Book it, and nail it.
Yeah, who's gonna stop Kyle now? Like from drafting a running back in the 3rd round? That is a real question of all of this.
Did they ever stop him before? Like, I feel like the only
Yeah,
way to
no.
do it is just like to be like, "Hey, Kyle, we're not on the clock for a little bit. Just go use the bathroom real quick." And they'll be like, "All right, guys, he's not here. We can't draft the running back this time."
We'll see. And I'll also say this, like, because we don't really know the actual importance of what role they had in getting certain players, Adam Peters, Ryan Carthon, all these people who have departed, those effects I don't think we'll even know until like several years down the road, but as of right now, the good thing is this college season has finished, and Adam Peters probably did most of his homework then. So the scouting department will probably still have all of his evals from this current draft class. But I mean, at this point, he goes straight to the Commanders, right? Like there isn't like, oh, we're waiting till like next season or
No,
anything.
they have the
It's
number 2 pick.
immediate.
They have the number 2
Yeah,
pick. Like that
gotta get
is
to
that
work.
is yeah. I mean, that's not small peanuts, and they've got a decision to make. About Sam Howell, and again, when he comes in, he's not tied to him because he didn't make that pick, and he's got a lot of work to do. He's got a lot of work to do for a few reasons, and this is why I feel so bad, or I feel poorly for Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera wasn't just tasked with coaching the Washington Commanders. Ron Rivera was tasked with fixing the culture around the Commanders in terms of all the terrible things that have gone on while Dan Snyder was the owner. Now, Adam Peters is going to be the first person to get his hands on this organization that is owned partly by Magic Johnson and so many others that feels like a staple NFL franchise. He's got a lot of pressure to smash this first draft and fix something that no one can fix because of the stink around the organization and Dan Snyder. So Adam Peters got to get to work right now, and he can't miss in this draft. He cannot miss in this draft. On that number 2 pick, you are looking at a rabid fan base that is excited about this hiring, as they should be, and they want change. You've got pieces. Terry McLaurin, this is Adam Peters' grand scheme. This is big brain move. Pass on Terry McLaurin in the draft. Find a way to be his general manager and have him under. It's like, all right, Adam Peters, like, are you just messing with me, like, and me in particular? But no, he's got a lot of work to do, honestly, Steph, and I think that's a lot of pressure that he's under.
But some guys like that. Some guys thrive wanting to build something from the ground up, and that's exactly what he's going to be tasked to do in Washington. We got a question from Rick Diaz, who asks here, specifically to you, Jay. Do you like tacos or burritos? Yes or no? I just want to know.
I love them all. Tacos, burritos, tamales, everything, man. Like, why do I gotta pick? Why do I gotta pick? If I'm in the mood for a taco, I want a taco. If I'm in the mood for a burrito, if I'm in the mood for a tamale, like, all of it. All of it. I don't discriminate. Anybody who discriminates and says one over the other, you just say you don't know food. Like just say you don't know food, man. I want it all. I'm not gonna sit here and say one or the other. I want them all. Everything. Give me all of them. I am literally that guy in the meme that is like sitting there with like 3 plates and he's like holding another plate, like he's got 2 on his knees, and that's me. I want tacos, burritos, tamales, all of it. Give me all of it, man. I always walk into a Hispanic household and tell them I haven't eaten for 3 days, and who could argue with me because I'm so skinny? And they give it to me. They give everything to me. Everything.
Yeah,
so
I bet.
That's it. Yeah, of course.
And that's why, Latin restaurants always have the combination plates, because we can't choose. I mean,
No.
it's all got to be in one plate. So yeah, big pupusa guy is what Bay Area Baller says. Eric Price. Yeah, man.
All of it.
You know,
and
I'm all about the
all that.
pupusas.
And like everything. Like, why do we have to choose, man? Like, it's no choosing.
It's cruel. It's cruel. You can't,
if I go to a taco truck and they only have tortas, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, "Where's the tacos, bro?" I'm gonna be like, "All right, we eating good." Like, why do we got to do this, man? And it's the same thing in sports. Why is it either or? Can't we just say we love them all? Like at certain points, not teams, certain players. And I think there's more about NBA and like LeBron and stuff. But whatever, that's a whole other podcast for another day.
Let's not derail too far. There's one more thing. There's one more thing I wanted to say about just this move, right? So, because I think there's going to be more moves to come out of Washington, as Albert Breer here reports. Adam Peters' contract isn't signed quite yet, and that could be because there are other execs in play here in Washington whose roles hang in the balance, including former 49ers exec and current Commanders GM Martin Mayhew. I also thought that he'd like to stay if Peters did get the job, but like, I thought because they've worked together in the past, that he'd be like a shoo-in to stay, but I don't know. It might not be that simple. I know a lot of people have thrown out the idea of Mayhew potentially returning to the 49ers if he isn't kept around Washington and if he doesn't land anywhere else. Like, would you welcome that?
I would. But I would think you're discounting the fact that other teams would be looking at Martin Mayhew as an asset.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of other teams that are going through things like that, right? Like right now, where they're going through regime change, and it's tough to say. I mean, of course you would, but then think about this: you go from general manager to something lower, and it's a familiar franchise, so I guess maybe that sweetens the deal. But I wouldn't discount the fact that people would be looking at Martin Mayhew and say, "Hey, I think he didn't do necessarily anything wrong in Washington. There was
No.
fundamentally other things that were really going on with Washington, and this is what I'm talking about with Adam Peters and what he's up against. You're not going to look at Martin Mayhew and say, "Oh my God, they drafted this guy and they drafted good players." I mean, many of the players that they have that are studs are homegrown, right? You miss on the quarterback, but they didn't take Sam Howell with a high pick. Like there's nothing that Martin Mayhew really did that's egregious, in my opinion.
Mhm.
I mean, they hit on Benjamin St. Juste, and they didn't have to spend much on him, right? Like these are the types of things that I think other franchises are going to look at. So I would just say that I'd love for him to come back, but he would have to take a demotion. But you'd be discounting other teams that would look at Mayhew as an asset to their front office as a general manager.
Yeah, I think so too. And as we were talking about earlier, it doesn't just end with, people sniffing around the 49ers for GMs. They're looking for coaches as well. And the latest one to get an interview request is 49ers passing game coordinator Klint Kubiak. The Bears are going to interview him for their offensive coordinator job. It doesn't end. It just doesn't end.
Well, think about this. Bobby Sloak's about to get a job.
After 1 year.
I-
It's crazy.
after 1 year, and
Yeah.
he worked at PFF. So maybe there's
Respect
hope.
PFF, pal.
Respect the dorks, Bucko. It just again, everyone's trying to figure out how to steal some of the magic. Just steal the magic, right? Like, and everyone's talking about comp picks. Clint Kubiak's white. Oh, let's just I
I
know.
think the
look,
whole Mike
Steph,
McDaniel thing confused everybody
Steph,
because, like,
Steph has a way more eloquent way of going about this. It's just like if you name somebody, I'm gonna say he's white. That does not count. It does not count. You don't get a comp pick for that. That's why Steve Wilkes needs to stay around one more year. If Steve Wilkes sticks around
yeah,
for 2 years and becomes a head coach, then you get your compensatory pick. But it goes back to what we were talking about. Everyone looks at this team, regardless of the Super Bowls. I know, Jedi. I'm just being funny. I'm just being funny. Like, don't I'm just being funny. That's all. But everybody looks at this team organizationally. I hope I said that right, top to bottom, and everyone wants a piece. Who can we take? And look, who can argue with the success? D'Amico Ryans is in the playoffs. Mike McDaniel's in the playoffs. Matt LaFleur is in the playoffs. Sean McVay is in the playoffs. Every single one of these teams, and look, you can make the argument that if Aaron Rodgers doesn't tear his Achilles in week 1, Robert Saleh will be in the playoffs. Everyone wants to try to find a way to get on board with everything. And everyone is. One way or another, this league is in one way, one form or fashion, running something that Shanahan's done. Talking about organizationally, or we're just talking about scheme wise, whether it's motion, whether it's this one, everyone is trying to get a piece, and that is kind of where we are at this point. So, I mean, I think it's hard to say goodbye to so many of these guys, but it should underline the point that we're trying to make. Your team is at the forefront of innovation in almost every single way, in terms of scouting, roster building, scheme, um, everything right now. So it's just, while you look at this and say it's a loss, these are all wins, because you have to trust two things. One, everybody's trying to be like the 49ers, and two, they continue to find guys that just step right in. So, I mean, I'm not as worried about all these things. The Adam Peters thing, nobody can really like nail down why he's the reason for certain things, but it should be well earned. And I think for a fact that everybody is trying to be like the 49ers is always the best.
Yeah, and Peter does ask a good question here in the comments. Why do bad teams often choose Niners front office and coaching staff? Why not get a piece of the Chiefs, Rams, or the Bucks, since they were recent Super Bowl champs the last few years? I
Well,
think
Eric
I'd look
Bieniemy's in
at.
Washington.
I mean, yeah, they've had guys leave as well. The
Matt
Rams
Nagy.
have, yeah,
Matt Nagy
they've had.
left.
But I think like the reason that it seems like the 49ers seem to lose more guys is just because I mean they do because of what they've built. It's not just about, the coaching scheme that everyone loves, the Shanahan scheme and all that. It's not just about loving, the defense and what they've built there. It's not just about, like all the great players they've drafted. We want a piece of that. That's a huge part of it too, but it's also the culture. I mean, people want that.
Yeah.
And that's something the 49ers, I think, have done better than even some of these teams who have won the Super Bowl, quite frankly. So I don't know. But you have any other answer for that, Jay?
Well, I mean, look, the Chiefs. Eric Bieniemy is the play caller now, and whoever is going to be the new coach, if it's Ben Johnson, then I think Eric Bieniemy kind of becomes a moot point because it's going to be Ben Johnson's offense from Detroit. Matt Nagy left the Chiefs and then rejoined the Chiefs after he flamed out in Chicago, and Raheem Morris is about to be in the discussion because
Hmm.
regardless of what we think about the Rams have put together an impressive season based on the fact that they've lost so much talent and they've been able to win games. They're in the playoffs. I think everybody is, right? Like I think everybody is. Everybody in one way or another is trying to do that. With the Bucks, you can't say Bruce Arians, he quit. I don't think anybody's really looking for Todd Bowles right now, even though I think he's a very good coach. I think he's a leader of men. Seems like he roused the guys up. Todd Monken was a Bucks guy. He is now the Ravens guy. It's everywhere. It is everywhere. But those guys aren't the innovators right now. The Shanahan offense are the innovators. Mike McDaniel with the cheat motion, and Shanahan with all the motion. Everything is it's the Shanahans, the tree. If you're in, you're in. The playmakers, like that podcast, if you're in, you're in, and then there's a notch under it, and everyone's trying to catch up. So it has happened 100%. Like it's happened 100%. Todd Monken was the Bucks offensive coordinator when Jameis was throwing for 5,000 yards and 800 turnovers, and now he's there with Lamar. Like everyone is getting their shot, but they're not getting it as quickly because everyone wants the success quickly that the 49ers have built.
Yeah, quickly. And I mean, the guys who have left have shown they can turn things around pretty quickly. So the more that happens, the more interest the 49ers coaches, execs are going to get. Gammon with another donation here. Shout out Gammon because he has dropped donations on each of our channels as he's been watching this. So
Gammons
shout
awesome,
out
man.
you, man.
Shout out to the
He's
Mod
always
Squad.
grinding. But make sure that you like and subscribe on both of our channels, Steph 49K and then Jason Aponte 2103. But Gammon says John Lynch reading Twitter and seeing the faithful upset that the 49ers lost their GM. Lynch must be saying, am I a joke to you people? Yeah, Lynch is this close to accidentally on purpose liking a tweet that he probably shouldn't have in the middle of church.
What a story, man. What a
Yeah,
story.
man.
I remember going live like on Christmas Eve, like right after. I was just like, I'm going live. I was like, there's no way I can let this slide. But again, this team.
You did an
But
emergency
again,
pop
like
for that?
yeah, oh hell yeah! It was like one of the better streams too, easily because I just was sitting there laughing, like you can't be serious with this team. Like after a gut wrenching loss to the Tennessee Titans, literally this was the
That's
comic relief we
hilarious.
needed. But yeah, I think again, Peters leaves, Cartan leaves, all these guys leave, and I think we're dismissing the collaborative effort of two guys, that have been the mainstays, right? If you go out with someone to a bar, to a restaurant and whatever, and they continuously get into fights and they always say, oh, I don't know why that happened. What's the common denominator? The common denominator right now in those things is you, but the common denominator right now in the success of the 49ers is going to be John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan going forward. And I think we've lost a lot of that in the discussion about who they've lost in terms of giving credit.
Yeah. Yeah, like we said, it is definitely a group effort. But when you look at the amount of guys that the 49ers have hit on these past few years, it's been great. And what better proof of that than the AP All Pro list,
Woo!
right? And there's a plethora of 49ers who have
I love that
made
word.
the
Say it one more time.
the plethora, man.
I love that.
Yeah, word of the day, plethora of 49ers who have made the first team list. Running back Christian McCaffrey, he's one of the unanimous players as far as the votes go on this list. Kyle Juszczyk, we got George Kittle, man, beating out Kelsey, as he very well should for his performance this year. We got Trent Williams. We got Fred Warner. This is a great list of guys, right?
Yeah. Um, I want to, and not to make this about me, I want to compare this list to my PFWA All Pro votes, just so
Okay.
I can see where we all land. Okay. Quarterback, Lamar, we're good. With PFWA, you had to pick 2 running backs. I picked Christian McCaffrey and Raheem Mostert. Possibly, I could have put Kyle Juszczyk there, but it said running backs, so I did that. Wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill. They only allowed you to pick 2, so I'm there. Tight end, George Kittle. We're good. Left tackle, of course, Trent Williams. Like, what are we doing? But center, Jason Kelsey. I picked Frank Ragnow of the Detroit Lions. He's had a better season. I just some of this is name only. Right tackle,
Yeah.
I picked Penei Sewell. I picked Chris Lindstrom at left guard from Atlanta over Joe Thuney, and I picked Quinn Miners of Denver over Zach Martin. All right, and then on defense, I think we got the same thing. Garrett and TJ, I think that's super easy. Aaron Donald,
Yeah.
Chris Jones, I don't even gotta look. Too easy. You only get to pick one inside linebacker. I picked Fred Warner, so we're good. Corners, I picked Mooney and Deron Bland. Deron Bland and Sauce Gardner. I don't get this one. A little bit just for me. I don't get this one, but they didn't give you slot cornerback, and then they give you safety. I picked the 2 people that they picked: Kyle Hamilton, Antoine Winfield. So I feel vindicated just a little bit
Hmm.
because I knew that I wasn't like tripping. I think offensive line is subjective a little bit more. I think offensive line is just a little bit more subjective, but I definitely had Ragnow over Kelsey at center. I think that's name recognition, and I think
Yeah.
it's the same thing when you see Bobby Wagner, second team All Pro linebacker. That's name recognition more than it is like watching film and watching tape and stuff like that. But yeah, you can go through the second team if you want.
Yeah, as far as 49ers who made the second team, Brandon Ayuk made it as one of the wide receivers, and we got Charvarius Ward as one of the cornerbacks. I think like Charvarius Ward was making a case towards the end of the year for potentially being first team, but regardless, I know this is big for him to make the All Pro list. I know he had incentives tied to making the Pro Bowl and the All Pro list, so this is big for him. I believe he makes about 500K, uh, of incentives for this, so definitely deserved. And if we look at Brennan Ayuk and Charvarius Ward, like these guys, very deserving, like they've been ascending players for the 49ers. But I'll also say this, like for those players to not feel too discouraged of the fact that it didn't make the first team, a lot of the 49ers who were on first team started off as second team all pro players. So you got to start somewhere. And I think this is just a stepping stone for these players to eventually make it to first team. Are you muted?
I'm sorry. Brandon Ayuk being here, second team, it shouldn't make you upset. It shouldn't. You know why? Because Tyreek, CD, and Amon-Ra St. Brown were absolute dogs this season. And that's no slight at Brandon Ayuk in any way. I
Mhm.
don't want anyone to, when I voted for All Pro, I voted for the guys that have had the best season. Do you think I want to vote for Dallas Cowboys? Like, do you think that I wake up and I want to like push a Dallas Cowboys agenda? I tried to be as objective as I could be. And Amon-Ra St. Brown has been one of the best wide receivers this entire season. So Brandon Ayuk being here and Puka Nacua, incredible season. Steph, you did an interview with him, right? So you were on top of that, like before that, or did you get to talk
I
to him?
did a little I at the combine. I asked him
Yeah,
a couple questions. Yeah.
there you go. So Puka, Mike Evans is one of the I will stand and die on this hill. Mike Evans is the most slept on, underrated receiver in the history of this game of that we call football. He is doing things that nobody has ever done in this league, and yet somehow no one ever brings him up. So I like this. But it shouldn't get you upset that Brandon Ayuk is here. AJ Brown had a phenomenal season. It started off really hot and it fell off fine, but it shouldn't make you feel bad. Like it really shouldn't. I don't see a world where Brandon Ayuk makes the first team All Pro over CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, or Tyreek Hill. I just don't. I just don't. And that's not a knock on Brandon Ayuk. And then when you look at everyone else that's here, Kyren Williams had an incredible year. I would have, me specifically, I would have given it to Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert had 20-something touchdowns this season. Raheem Mostert over Kyren Williams, in my opinion. Just my opinion. Dak Prescott feels fine here. I guess we're going to have a discussion about Dak and Brock. That feels fine to me. Again, our opinion of Brock is completely different than everyone else's opinion because everyone else still knocks Brock down for just being a part of the team and not being right. Like whatever it is that they come up with their arguments. I don't have a problem with that, right? Sam Laporta, tight end. I'm just glad that Travis Kelce's not on this list because he's not one of the top 2, 3, 4 guys this season. He's just not. This season, he's just not. Sam Laporta absolutely outplayed him. Offensive line, that is very much like subjective. I picked Chris Lindstrom in mind for first team, all that stuff. Look, Micah Parsons, Max Crosby makes sense. All of those guys, everything here makes sense except for Bobby Wagner. That's the one that kind of gets to me a little bit. That one gets to me a little bit.
That's the name thing.
Yeah, that's name recognition. That's like the Make-A-Wish All-Pro Pro Bowl thing. Like it's always just no. The last 2 years it has been. I'm sorry, Bobby. Look, Bobby, you're a Hall of Famer. You're a Hall of Famer, Bobby. But that's Make-A-Wish like Pro Bowl All-Pro stuff. The Mooney Ward and Sauce Gardner thing, I have a little bit of an issue with. Just a little bit of an issue with, because I don't know unless you're coming up with like, well, they don't throw his way, all those things. You've got a guy who leads the league in pass breakups, who has 5 interceptions. Like, what do you want from Charvarius Ward? Like, what do you want from him? So for me, like, I don't get that one. So I know that was long-winded, but I'm good with Jesse Bates. I'm good with Jesse Bates there as well, too. I think he was somebody who, if it wasn't for Antoine Winfield, would have been the guy that I would have voted for. But you see how the Pro Bowl's funny? Antoine Winfield doesn't make the Pro Bowl, All-Pro. Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't make the Pro Bowl, All-Pro. Like, the guys who are actually watching the game, and not the fans that are actually voting at times, the casual fans, they actually know. So I feel vindicated a little bit just because I'm just like, damn, all these guys deserve to be there. But for me, the biggest thing is like Kyren Williams, Raheem Mostert over you. And I didn't vote AJ Cole over Mitch Wisnowski. I want to make sure I make that very clear. I voted for Mitch Wisnowski. Mitch Wisnowski was the best punter this year. 15-yard penalties aside.
Yeah, Jay's just trying to tell us that he knows ball, all right, which is something we already knew. But to spare you, Jay, yeah, I didn't include the special teamers on here, and also because there weren't any 49ers on the list. But Mitch Wisnowski has had a good year. Look, we got a question from Super Chat here from Desmond. With the potential for Wilkes to land a head coaching position, who do you all think replaces him as defensive coordinator? I'll let you start on this one, Jay.
Oh, man. I believe that Steve Wilkes isn't leaving. But I'm going to go with this hypothetical that Steve Wilkes does leave and takes the head coaching spot. I think the easiest answer is Chris Kocurek. I think that's the easiest answer. But Chris Kocurek has said many times, I am not interested in that. I just want to coach D-line. But I think when they talk to him and they get into that process and they actually get into, the idea of someone who is familiar with everything, I think the odds-on favorite, if we were doing like a betting thing, I think it would have to be Chris Kocurek. Wouldn't you think, Steph?
I don't know. I disagree. Just because,
Good.
he's said that he doesn't want to be a defensive coordinator, right? Like I think he's staying true to that. I don't see that changing. So no, I don't think so. I think maybe Johnny Holland. I think they would have probably promoted Johnny Holland to defensive coordinator last year if they felt like, he was, I don't know, maybe, I mean, he has a lot of experience, so not sure why they wouldn't have considered him, but I feel like maybe they just wanted another year of him coaching the linebackers specifically to, make that decisions. But there's a lot of people who I think
Could be out of house. We didn't see Steve Wilkes coming.
It could be. But I think the reason they went out of house was because they didn't think there was someone in house who was ready. And Chris Kosaric being out because, he's ready, like he has all the experience, but for reasons that he doesn't want to. But I'm saying of the guys who maybe would be interested in taking that coordinator role, I don't think there's a lot of younger guys who maybe just hadn't really been groomed up to
Could
take
be somebody
that
that we're not thinking about either. Could be somebody that we're
usually
completely
is.
not thinking
Yeah,
about.
sometimes it
right.
is.
Like we didn't see D'Amico coming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was looking at Johnny Holland, because maybe they go back to, linebacker coach. But yeah, it could even be Daniel Bullock's. Like, I mean, there's a number of guys. But yeah, I agree with you, Jay. I don't think he's leaving. I've been very adamant about that. I don't think he's leaving this year. I think it's more likely next year that if he does have the defense looking like this one more year, I think he'll do it. But there's just so many hotter candidates this cycle. So I
Booth coaches.
No booth coaches. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably be part of the interview at this point, because
do you prefer the booth or the sideline? The booth. All right, sir. I think our interview's over.
Our time is done here. Thank you. The door's that way.
Thank you for your time. Yeah. The door's that way. Take the cookies on the way out.
Door's that way, pal. Yeah. Justin E says, shout out the Kyle Hamilton All-Pro pick. Jason as a Kyle Hamilton truther. I appreciate that. Hamilton's a dog, man.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited that although I have disagreements, I still was on par with what everyone else thought. So I guess I gotta watch more football, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. I was very just a little bit more. I'm just very happy that. Can we have this discussion just real quick? I just want to go off on a little quick tangent.
Okay.
The players picked the All Pros, and then the Associated Press and the PFWA picked their All Pros. And yet, we have bigger disagreements with what the players believe to be All Pros than we do what the writers do. And I just want to have a quick discussion on why just because you played the game of football doesn't mean that you actually know what the fuck is going on. Sorry, didn't mean to curse on your program.
Bleep it out.
Bleep it out, Rob. It pisses me off that the idea that if Jerry Rice comes out and says that Aiden O'Connell's the greatest quarterback of all time, that you have to listen to that. Because Jerry Rice is the GOAT and he's played. Are you going to disagree with a player? Yes, I am. He's wrong. Yes, I am. 10 out of 10 times when I disagree with a player, you're dead ass wrong. Shady McCoy gets on Speak FS1 every single day and spews nonsense. He was great at the game of football. You're not good at talking about football. So when I disagree with Joe Montana saying Jimmy Garoppolo should stay around, who are you to disagree with the GOAT? I am someone with a brain. So players, Travis Kelce's not your first team All-Pro. He wasn't the best. He wasn't the second best. He wasn't the third best tight end this season. I just want to have a clear distinction that players have a validated opinion because they played the game. Their word's not gold. And players are wrong, just like opinions are wrong every single day. I just love to lap that up. I want to make sure I keep lapping that up. I want to make sure that I hammer that home. Joe Montana could say that he believes Tommy DeVito's the greatest quarterback of all time, and I would say Joe Montana has CTE. I would say that. But you have to listen to him, right? Because he's Joe Montana, and Joe Montana's the greatest, and you got to listen. No, you don't. No, you don't. Form your own opinions. Trust your eyes. When someone says a player knows more than you, no, a player's played more than you. Doesn't mean they know more than you. That's it. That's my little tangent.
I think we've learned that that lesson so many times in the last year. There's been so many examples of why players don't always have the best football opinions. But it happens. They're human, just like us. Some of us don't have great opinions either. Like, I mean, it's just
Opinions are wrong every day.
it's part of having opinions, man. Some of them are going to
Yep.
be wrong. We have another super chat here. Harbaugh goes to Vegas. We get Antonio Pierce as defensive coordinator.
I
Hey,
don't know why.
there's a lot of Raiders players like who really pulling for
No,
Antonio Pierce. Max Crosby, one of them.
I don't know why Antonio Pierce would take the defensive coordinator job when everybody wants him to be a head coach. I mean, look, the Raiders were still winning games somehow with all the nonsense. Jimmy Garoppolo got paid $25 million for 300 snaps. And they're running out Aiden O'Connell. Josh Jacobs missed a ton of games. They beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. There's something there with Antonio Pierce. And there's a little bit more about like, okay, what's the fine line of I know X's and O's and I'm just a dude that everybody follows. And I think Antonio Pierce is that. I do think he's that. Because no one listened to Josh McDaniels. But when Antonio Pierce broke out, hey, they didn't want us to win and we beat the Patriots, yo, the team like rose up and then Josh
Mhm.
McDaniels got fired because he was upset about that. There's a little bit of a difference between like there has to be a balance between X's and O's and guys who can motivate, right?
Mhm.
Like if Antonio Pierce asked me to run through the wall, I probably would. But Kyle Shanahan could tell me, this is why we're running this, and this is like there has to be a balance of it. So I don't know if Antonio Pierce would take a DC job because I think he might be a head coach in this hiring cycle.
Yeah, I mean, we often see that sometimes coordinators don't always make great head coaches. We also see that sometimes, really good motivators or guys that are interim head coaches who can maybe go on a little run to end their season, doesn't always translate to a full season. Motivation alone doesn't really get you a winning, football team all the time. But so I don't envy the Raiders right now, having to make a decision on Antonio Pierce, but I do think you got to listen to your players, man, and they're telling you to stick with Antonio Pierce as the head coach. So I would listen to him. But I wanted to get back to the all pro discussion. I mentioned that Christian McCaffrey and Fred Warner were the unanimous picks, one of two of three unanimous picks, along with Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill. I just want to know what Trent Williams had to do to like not be a unanimous pick. Like, what more does he need to do to be a unanimous pick? Because I don't know there's any other like left tackle in football right now who you can argue is better than Trent Williams.
Some of the picks were hard, and I had to go and do some research before I did it. Right, like when I was going through and I was looking through, I like that's why I got to the Ragnow pick over Kelsey. If you want to do names, then Trent Williams should be the first at your mind. But what other left tackle? Tristan Wirfs is probably the
Yeah,
only other
easy.
one Tristan Wirfs is probably the only other one that could have stole a vote from Trent Williams. When I did the all NFC ballot, I believe they allow you to pick two at each, and I picked Trent and Tristan Wirfs. So Tristan Wirfs is the only other person that I could think of off the top of my head, without watching film. But yeah, look, Christian McCaffrey, that's easy. Fred Warner, that's easy. Tyreek, that's easy. If Tyreek doesn't get hurt, he was about to clear 2,000 yards, like he said he was going to clear it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, but yeah, the left tackle thing, it's like Tristan Wirfs is a baller, but it's almost like Michael Jordan's the MVP. Karl Malone. You kind of just gotta wait for him to leave, and then you can win the MVP, which he never did after, by the way. But I'm just saying, like, there's a placeholder. There's a placeholder, right? Like, there's a placeholder for that position, and it's Trent Williams. And it's the same thing. Like everyone, it always was when Michael Jordan was in the NBA. Like at that time, who's gonna be second place? And I think that's what we should be talking about because Trent Williams, even if he misses games, You know what makes it most valuable? When he misses games and and you're looking at the left tackle play and you're like, oh my God, Trent Williams is not playing. That's how you know.
Yep.
That's how you know.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I know Brock Purdy narrowly missed getting into the second team All Pro. And I know some people are talking about Nick Bosa too. I'll just say right here, we could keep this short and sweet. But Nick Bosa, I don't think deserved to be an All Pro this season.
Let's keep it shorter and sweeter. Steph's absolutely right. 100%.
All right, great. I'm glad we agree on that. But we're getting some questions on the playoffs. So let's shift into that conversation. Game is asking, what are the top playoff teams from 1 to 6? Jay, I'm going to start us off. 49ers 1.
Yeah. Look.
Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, I wrote 2 articles. One today dropped on Niners Nation about the top defenses left in the NFC. And I wrote the one that came out the day before about the offenses. Spoiler alert: the Niners are 1 on both of them. And if I go through it like off the top of my head, offenses, I had the Niners 1. I had the Lions 2. I had the Rams 3, and I had the Cowboys 4. And then I had Tampa. No, I had Philly 5, and then I had Tampa 6. And it hurts me to say that because I love Mike Evans so much, but that's how I see the offenses. The defenses, I had the Niners 1. I had the Cowboys 2, and it was very close. It was very close with that one because they have like the identical numbers. I had if I'm not mistaken, I had the Lions 3, but I had the Bucks and no. I had the Bucks 3, and I had the Lions and the Rams tied. But you know what I had last as the defense in the NFC? The Philadelphia Eagles.
I mean, yeah.
No. But I want to make sure. Hold on. I want to
could
make
see
sure
that.
I get through this. Yeah, I want to make sure I get through this, and I say it as eloquently as possible because I could just jump on here and just yell, frauds, whatever. I want to make sure I highlight how porous the Eagles defense has been. And I'm pulling it up right now, Steph. I'm just like buying for time right now because my MacBook is like 300 years old. But the Eagles are at the bottom of the NFC in nearly every single category that matters.
Yeah.
Literally every category that matters. And that and that with the tape itself will tell you like where they are at this point. There's no way you can there's no way you can put a spin on the Eagles barely beat the Giants on Christmas Day. But here's some of the numbers. In the NFC, remind you, there are 16 teams in the NFC. 16. The Eagles are 13th in yards allowed per game, 15th in passing yards allowed per game, 11th in interception rate, 10th in sacks per pass attempt, 14th in points allowed per game, 15th on third down, 13th on goal-to-goal situations. Look, Matt Patricia ain't saving y'all. Matt Patricia ain't the answer. He's not walking through that door and saving y'all. The Eagles stink. Oh my God, they stink. Like, it's so bad. Like, it's like you could look at it and you can say, oh, we're hating because, we're Niners fans. The Eagles are objectively not a good football team on any. The only thing they do well, the only thing the Eagles do well is the touch push. Objectively. That's it. That's all they do. They can't throw the ball. They can't run it. But if they get to the one, whatever. Everybody will just push Jalen Hurts because he can lift 600 yards, 600 pounds. But, like, Jalen Hurts, message to you, bucko. Get ready to wear blue because you're about to be a Walmart greeter if you don't find a way to win this game on Monday, man.
That's harsh, man. And AJ, there's more drama, right? Like AJ Brown has scrubbed his social media.
AJ Brown's not playing Monday.
Eagles.
That's why he did that. AJ Brown's not playing Monday.
That's crazy. Yeah,
it's not like they needed him because even when he was there, it wasn't working.
I would go as far as saying the Eagles didn't even deserve to make the playoffs. Like that's how terrible they've been this past month. It's been really bad. So yeah, I don't see them winning that game against the Bucks.
The one game they won against the New York Giants, They were on the doorstep of losing to Tyrod Taylor and the New York Giants. The New York Giants aren't trying to win games. The New York Giants literally outsucked or they beat the allegations of being trash, like winning this last game. Like the Giants didn't want to win. It just means you stink. Like it doesn't mean that the Giants are better than you. The Giants were like, damn, we're just trying to like get out of this game, like and just get home. And you somehow lost to them. It's insane. It's insane, man. It's really insane.
Want to get to some of these super chats before we head out
Go
of
for it.
here. James says we might finally know who wanted Trey. Will Peter's first move as GM be trading for Lance? Maybe. Who's to say? I want to know where you guys are rating this. Like, we've now had 2 people in the chat telling us that it was Adam Peters who wanted Trey Lance. Like, is this coming from any like reputable source? Where I haven't seen this anywhere. Where are you guys getting this? First of all, that's what I want to know. No, I don't think that's going to be Peter's first move. I don't think so.
That would be lit. That would be real lit. Just to see, like, let's just say they had the number 2 pick. Let's just say Washington has the number 2 pick, and they eschew the quarterbacks on the board, and they take like an edge rusher. And Adam Peters says, "I'm getting back on the Lance train." That would be a bold choice.
Just a little,
but I'd be here for it. I would be here for it. So you keep Sam Howell because you have Sam Howell under a rookie control contract. Like you don't gotta pay him nothing right now. And you bring in Trey Lance, and I mean, but would Dallas trade within their division?
I mean, usually I'd say no, but like at the same time, you're not gonna get like what is their plan for Trey Lance, right? Like, is it for him to just like sit back and be Dak's backup third string? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, you know what's the best thing is like, hey Trey, we want you to come to Washington. You got to sit behind Sam Howell though. It's just like, how much more can you take? How much more can you take?
I mean, his breaking point right there. Yeah,
I would just be like, you know what? I'm going to the CFL, pal. I'm gonna join the U. Like I'm gonna go start somewhere. Like imagine telling Trey Lance, number 3 overall pick, someone that many people agreed was the perfect pick off the board. Hey, you gotta sit behind Sam Howell, man. Like how much more can this young man take? I know he's headstrong, but good God.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Trey, but I would assume he continues sticking around with the Dallas Cowboys. Shout out Justin for the donation. He says, I gotta ask, does Chauncey Gardner-Johnson leaving the Eagles kind of bust the good teams don't pay safeties narrative? I mean, I'll say this, like the Eagles. Like the Eagles miss him, but there's so much more wrong with the Eagles than just like this. So I don't know if it really goes to bust that narrative altogether, but he's doing fine with the Lions.
Not to keep going on the Eagles, Steph. But my God, man. That secondary was ready to be picked on, and the 49ers had the plan. And this is all I was talking about going into that Super Bowl. The Chiefs are going to pick on that secondary by using motion, putting people in confusion, and they just aren't good against any of that. But there was something about the Eagles last year. You ever notice a team that just has like everything going for them? Oh, the mojo is perfect. They win all the games, right? Jalen Hurts had an incredible season last year. Like all of those things were going for them, but the flaws were there. But you ignore all that because of the winning. So when people point that out last season, when I said Jalen Hurts is a one-read passer, he doesn't know how to throw the football down the field. You are looking right now not at the exception, or you're not looking at the rule. You're looking at the exception. The Eagles themselves, right now, are an anomaly because Nick Sirianni ran that team, and they ran into who they ran into, and then Brock Purdy gets injured. Guys were wide open. That secondary's been waiting to get like cooked. And now this season, you hear Darius Slay say, I can't wait to not play in Philly because I'm tired of getting booed. I got an answer for you, Darius Slay. Be fucking better and stop sucking. Like, I just wish you would just like stop sucking. If you weren't trash, people wouldn't boo you. You've been trash. You look at how they started. They were 10-1, right? Like 10-1, something like that. I think it was, or
Yeah,
11-1. The only game they won was a Christmas Day matchup with the Philadelphia Eagles, with the New York Giants, in which Tyrod Taylor started, and they almost blew that one. Just admit, look in the mirror. The Philadelphia Eagles were a one-year wonder. Everything about them was a one-year wonder. They've got great players. They do. And that helps. Like, Lane Johnson's a dog. Jason Kelsey's a dog. Dallas Goedert's nasty. A.J. Brown's great. But y'all not like that. And Nick Sirianni, pack your bags, bucko. I hope you learn Chinese because you're fired. Once you lose to Tampa on Monday, you're fired. You are fired. And Bill Belichick will absolutely step right in and figure out a way to get them
That's
done.
a rumor. That's the rumor, right? That there's one mystery team that would be interested in Bill Belichick that hasn't fired their coach yet. You would have to assume that team is still in the playoffs. Philadelphia Eagles, Nick Sirianni. Better learn Chinese, buddy.
Better learn Chinese,
Invading Robots, thank you for the donation. My fave and second fave 49ers content creators, keep up the great work. We appreciate the love.
Hell yeah.
James wants to clear something up. He was being sarcastic with his he's the one who said earlier that it was Peters who drafted or wanted to draft Trey Lance. He was being sarcastic. But he says, however, to laugh and think this would be absurd, can't agree with you there. There is some sense there, and Howell is gone regardless. Look, I'm not saying that like Adam Peters didn't do it. I'm just saying we don't know. You want my honest opinion? You're not gonna like it. I think it was Kyle Shanahan who drafted Trey Lance. That's what I think.
There's no way there was a quarterback. There was no way there was a quarterback that was drafted that isn't Kyle Shanahan approved.
Yeah,
there's no way.
He has a final say in everything. So
no way. There's no way. And literally, he was trying to correct his wrongs, right? Or whatever it is. Because I think the bigger debate is who was the one that pushed for Jimmy Garoppolo to sign his extension?
That was John Lynch.
Right.
So they've both made some decisions with the quarterback,
So we're moving to 3. Kyle Shanahan has someone who is going to engineer his offense going forward. If you don't believe that Kyle Shanahan wanted Trey Lance, I've got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. There's no way that Kyle Shanahan would allow them to be like, we're drafting this guy. Deal with it. No. So Kyle Shanahan's in on that as well too. So again, it's hard to place all that stuff on Adam Peters. Sure, look, all right. Let's do an audit of ourselves, Steph. Right? Adam Peters might have wanted Trey Lance. John Lynch might have wanted Matt Jones. Kyle Shanahan wanted Trey Lance. Steph Sanchez and Jason Aponte wanted Justin Fields. And I stand on that. I will stand on that because that's exactly how I felt. But what happened didn't take place. And yet, here they are on the preface of a Super Bowl, even with all this, right? Like, this is exactly what everyone is trying to steal from. Imagine blowing 3 first-round picks on a player, missing, and then being the team that everyone wants to steal from. That's a perfect way to end this entire discussion in terms of Adam Peters and everything. Still, Justin Fields should stay in Chicago.
Yeah, I think he probably will, but they're gonna be tempted for sure. So you just never know. The good thing is the 49ers have a first-round pick once again this year. The other good thing is that me and Jay are going to be at the Senior Bowl this year.
Yeah.
So make sure that you guys keep it locked on our channels at all times. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Not just my channel, but Jay's as well. Steph 49K, Jason Aponte 2103. And I think we'll be back on Bully Ball Tuesday, unless Jay comes up with some still excuse.
Tuesday, an excuse? What you mean? I had a horrific cough, and I would have looked crazy trying to speak.
Horrific.
Horrific. Right. That's the word I'm using.
Fair,
Perfect.
bucko.
Steph,
All right,
I didn't jump on here to get cooked, but like, let's keep it going.
well, we hope you guys enjoy the games this weekend. We're gonna enjoy it because we're not gonna be
Wait,
stressed
Steph,
out.
real quick. Let's make your picks. It's Friday.
Make my picks.
Go.
Okay. I mean, here's what I think is going to happen. All right. Some you might not like, but here's what I think.
Not what you. No. Who do you think? Gut. Like, go with the gut. Go with the gut.
No, I am. This is what This is who I think is going to win.
Okay.
The Bucks, the Rams, and the Cowboys.
Okay. And then the AFC.
I think the Browns are going to win, but it's going to be a close one. I think the Chiefs are going to win because the Dolphins are not, like, I am betting the under on that game. One, because it's on Peacock and they're not letting anyone else watch it. And then two, because it's going to be cold as hell. And I don't think Tua is going to be able to do anything. They're not going to be able to function in that weather. I don't think that Mahomes is going to be any better. But at least they have some experience in the cold. So I'm going to give that one to the Chiefs. And then, of course, the Bills over the Steelers.
Okay. Give me the Bucks. Give me the Lions. I'm in now. Sam Laporta is going to play. So I'm in now. Like, I'm in. I think there's a little bit too much on the line for Detroit right now. I think the Rams are the better team, but I think there's too much on the line for Detroit for the city. Like, they're going to play Lose Yourself and some terrible Eminem song that's going to get them super hyped up, like whatever it is, like, and they're going to win. And then Dallas is going to win as well, too. When it comes to the Browns and the Texans, I think the Browns win as well, too. But I do want to point out that the fact that the Browns beat the Texans and it was so close, CJ Stroud didn't play in that game. So I want to make sure that we get that clear, but I think the Browns are just too good. And I agree with Steph. The Chiefs-Dolphins thing, Tua's never won a game under 40 degrees. Today is not that day, and that doesn't mean that the Chiefs are good. It just means they ran into the right opponent. And give me the Buffalo Bills over the Steelers. I mean, Mason Rudolph, like, I'm straight. Like, I'm good on that.
Yeah, Gammon wants us to write our picks down, stand on business. Well, you know what? It's on tape. It's on tape.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Put it on tape.
We putting it on the tape. Hold me accountable for my picks. What? Am I not held accountable enough? Like, come on. I stand on mine. I stand on.
Dude, I'm still held accountable about my Brock Purdy training camp takes, and I've like literally apologized like 300 times.
Yeah, Rob too. It's like, you deserve it, bucko. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to end today's show. Make sure that you guys like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, not just mine, but Jay's as well. Make sure you guys enjoy this weekend's games. They're going to be great. And I'll be live. I'll be going live this weekend once we find out who the 49ers are going to be playing next weekend. So make sure that you guys tune in for that. Have those notification bells on.
Hold on. I see it coming up. I don't want to say his name, but I want to say certain cheese. Don't post it. it. Certain cheese. Go Niners. I've been watching since '89. Can I get a shout out? Shout out to you. 100%. And
I think he knows what he was doing, trying to get a shout out with a username 100%. Like that.
I'm not trying to get Steph's channel banned or anything like that. But hey, shout out to you, bro. Since '89, hell yeah, man. And I think this is the year, man. I'm gonna say one more time on Steph's channel. If not now, then when? This is it. This is it right now.
All right, y'all. But yeah, we're gonna have great playoff content for you guys. For the next few weeks, the next month, in fact. So make sure you guys keep it locked. But for now, have a good rest of your Friday, folks. Peace.